All right, the SANTACO Meter Taxi Association recently holding its first summit. It brought together meter taxi operators from all provinces down in Durban. The purpose was to address a number of challenges facing the industry and finding solutions to what would benefit both the sector and its customers. Now, this is very clever. We'll talk about this as well. SANTACO announcing it'll be entering into the fourth industrial revolution, 4IR if you will, with the launch of electric-powered vehicles. Let's chat to Sibongiseni Shange, SANTACO Meter Taxi Deputy Chairperson, joining us this morning. Sibongiseni, good morning to you. Appreciate the time. We're going to talk about all these exciting things like electric vehicles in a moment. I want to hear about that. I do just want to start our conversation by getting your reaction to this ongoing tension between meter taxis and e-hailing services. I do want to get your comment on record. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Talk to me about the issues we're seeing in Joburg.
I'll start by saying we start by apologizing to our customers who have been caught in a crossfire out of all the whole thing that has been happening. We apologize because of this is a broken system that has been happening for the past 8 years. And we also apologize to the meter taxis that are legally operating, having permits, operating license to be doing their businesses, but they have lost their business because of the broken system. We apologize again to the e-hailing drivers that have been caught in terms of the element of criminal. What has been happening is not correct, and we condemn it, that we are taking each other now as brothers because of the system does not favor us to make money out of it. Also with the minibuses that have their cars repossessed because of the unfair competition. But we take no responsibility of violence because I've never sat in a meeting whereby now we had instructions of people having to be attacking other people.
Now, I'm quite sure meetings around there would never ever happen, as planned violence. I certainly think that would be a fair assumption to make. But I think, as you know, situations can escalate out of control. Sibongiseni, just talk to me about the system that you're talking about. You're saying both meter taxis and e-hailing, the system is failing. Who's the system? Who's supposed to be managing the system, if you don't mind?
There's no any other formula in terms of the operation other than having to be a recognized operator. You are recognized only if you have an operating license. There's a process that you have to go through. Everyone must be subjected to that. If you don't have an operating license, you are not authorized to be in a street whereby you're checking passengers for reward. So now this is a system that needs to be controlled from the government point of view. From our side, we can do what we can do, and we comply, and we do what we can. From the Lekgotla, we have resolutions that are talking about unity, leadership, formalization. We have done all that to make sure that our business is sustainable and is profitable. But the system is broken from the government point of view in terms of the controls.
Would that be the Minister of Transport, I imagine you're referring to?
Well, the permits, which is operating licenses, are being issued in municipalities. That's where the operation happens. Or the controls needs to be there.
We're going to circle back around to that, perhaps before we end our discussion, if we have time, because I do want to also talk about some positives coming out of what you have been talking about at this summit. I mentioned the electric taxis as well. Sounds like a great idea. Have you heard of load shedding?
No, well, from the summit, our focus is more on building relationships with relevant stakeholders, relevant role players. Part of those ones is Halfway Toyota. Halfway Toyota spend about 4 million in terms of assets. That was 9 vehicles that they gave to us in order for us to be competitive and also to make sure that our customers they have reliable, sustainable service. And then we just launched yesterday with one-stop mobility electric vehicles, which are very nice and comfortable and they will put money into our pockets because of we won't be spending a lot of money. You must know that petrol is a high expense when you're running a transport service.
I'm sure it is. So help me understand how this pricing works, because as you said, the cost of petrol and how expensive it is. So how are you charging passengers to use potentially an electric taxi? Because one of the complaints from passengers, we've had this discussion, you and I, in the past, is that when the fuel price goes up, the taxi fare goes up. When the fuel price comes down, the taxi fare doesn't. Well, answer that for me first, Sibongiseni. And then two, how do you charge a passenger for an electric trip?
Well, right now, as we are talking about the fuel, we're no longer going to be affected by that as soon as we roll out our electric vehicles, because of we have a plan when coming to that. We're not going to be depending on electricity in terms of load shedding. We're going to be installing a service station which are going to be powered by solar energy. So we're not going to be depending on the failings energy. And also, when coming to charging customers are actually not supposed to be suffering based on the operation cost on our side. That's why we are partnering with relevant stakeholders that are understanding our industry and are interested to invest.
Well, for the moment, I'm going to say thank you very much indeed. It looks like it's a very, very interesting future for the meter taxi industry, especially if we can get this electric system of taxis up and running. I'd love to see how that all works when it comes into play. Sibongiseni, thank you very much for your time this morning. That is Sibongiseni Shange, SANTACO Meter Taxi Deputy Chairperson.